In 2025, a British drama called Adolescence won 8 Emmys. It tells the story of a 13-year-old boy, Jamie Miller, who murdered his classmate, a girl named Katie Leonard. She rejected his romantic advances, then cyberbullied him, so Jamie killed her. And investigations uncovered his manosphere influenced views on women, and these included Andrew Tate, the incel forums, and social media mockery. So a 13-year-old boy radicalized online who murdered a girl. And the show asks, what is happening to our young men? What are the pressures they face from their peers, from the internet, from social media? I have a different type of question, which is, what are we doing about the industries radicalizing our young men? Because the manosphere isn't one thing, it's a collection of things. And in our daily lives, we're surrounded by industries who influence violence into our lives, our homes, our minds, sometimes unknowingly and sometimes with welcome arms, because we either don't see the risk or think it doesn't apply to us. Too many ways to influence violence, and then we wonder why it follows. The manosphere. I don't know if anybody's heard of it before, but the word first appeared in 2009, and it's a play on blogosphere. It was further popularized in 2013 by Ian Ironwood, a pornography marketer, in his book The Manosphere: A New Hope for Masculinity. Now, a pornography marketer writing about masculinity, that tells me everything. The manosphere is a collection of websites, blogs, forums, and online communities that includes men's rights activists who claim feminism oppresses men, incels, involuntary celibates, men who blame women for their lack of sex, men going their own way, aka MGTOW. These are men who swear off women. Then you have pickup artists, men who use predatory tactics to speak to women, all unified by one belief: society is biased against men because of feminism. And they use language from the Matrix, like red pill for seeing men are oppressed, blue pill for staying trapped in feminism. Andrew Tate, Myron Gaines, Adin Ross, freely accessible, freely unlimited. The algorithm amplifies their voices and individuals like them, and they're available to 13-year-olds who consume their information daily. And it's not just online. Following Trump's 2024 US election, phrases like "your body, my choice," coined by white nationalist Nick Fuentes, exploded from under 20 mentions daily to nearly 2,000 mentions daily. And also boys in the US were chanting these words in schools. And in the UK, although it's primarily online, but the same content is still radicalizing British boys. The manosphere has been linked to mass violence, including the 2024 Isla Vista killings and the 2018 Toronto van attack. Men radicalized by this ideology murdering women. What's important about this is that the manosphere isn't just the Andrew Tates of this world. It's the entire culture teaching boys that women are objects, rejection is an attack, and violence is power. And that culture is everywhere. And the UK government won't name any of it. And they tell 3 lies instead. Now, this episode is following on from episode 6, where I looked at the UK's violence against women and girls strategy 2025. The strategy promises prevention, teaching healthy relationships in schools, tackling harmful attitudes among young people, partnering with tech companies to protect children online. But here's what really frustrates me. The strategy promises to prevent violence while refusing to name the industries teaching it. So the question isn't how do we stop violence after it happens? It should be what is creating violent men and why won't we name it? What industries are educating them into violence while we're trying to educate them out of it? Greetings, I'm JK. Thank you for being here and listening to Like Me podcast. This is where raw truths meet reflection, where I challenge social narratives, explore self-advocacy, and move beyond surviving life-changing experiences into courage, self-assurance, and thriving. Because if you're anything like me, you'll recognize that life is for living and living freely. And if this conversation resonates, please subscribe and share. It helps this work reach more people. And a quick note, in this episode, I will talk about industries profiting from objectification, online radicalisation of boys and men, systemic violence against women and girls, and my own experience reporting sexual violence. Please take care of yourself as you listen. And if at any point you need to stop and take a break or step away, please do. You matter more than this episode. And come back and listen only when you feel ready. Episode 6 showed the structural failures of the strategy, the violence against women and girls strategy. In the UK, the legal system was built by men like Sir Matthew Hale, who believed husbands couldn't rape their wives. Marital rape wasn't illegal in the UK until 1991. Institutions harbour perpetrators. 1,600 police officers are currently under review for sexual offences and domestic abuse in the UK. And promises have been made before. So the 2021 violence against women and girls strategy, only 78% of the promises were delivered, and £22 million went underspent. And you know what? Violence increased, not decreased. And then there's something deeper. The lies the UK government won't stop telling. I've identified 3 that are relevant to the strategy, and until they come clean, no strategy will work. So in December 2024, the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch claimed, and I quote, "It's not 11-year-old boys who are committing violence against women and girls. We need to get people who have come from cultures that don't respect women out of our country." Her message was simple. Violence against women is an immigration problem. And what she was hiding is that 72.6% of rape convictions in the UK are British nationals. British born, British raised, British socialised. And yes, foreign nationals are overrepresented relative to their population size, and that needs addressing, but the majority of convicted rapists are British men. White British men, black British men, Asian British men, mixed heritage British men, all British, all raised in this culture. And it's a lie, because it's deflecting to immigrants and protects British institutions from self-examination. And it also protects the 1,600 British police officers under review of sexual offences and domestic abuse, including Wayne Couzens, who's British, also who used his police badge to abduct, rape and murder Sarah Everard. May she rest in peace. And David Carwick, also British, who committed dozens of rapes over 17 years while serving as a Metropolitan Police officer. Both British men. Not all British men, obviously, but in these examples, they are British, but enough that it's a pattern, enough that it's structural. This is not a racial problem, this is a cultural problem. The manosphere doesn't discriminate by ethnicity. It radicalizes across borders, across communities, and across backgrounds. My first perpetrator was Black, British, my father's son. He has children now, and something that haunts me daily is, did he harm them? And if he did, I'm sorry. I wasn't stronger and able to scream louder. And if he didn't, I'm very thankful. And this isn't abstract when politicians deflect to immigrants. They protect perpetrators like them from scrutiny. British men raised in a culture that profits from objectifying women and girls. And the other thing the UK government says or has promised is that £20 million will be spent to challenge Andrew Tate's influence through education programmes. The message, we just need to teach boys better values. And what they're hiding is that the economy profits from the objectification of women and girls, billions of pounds every year. And the government won't name a single industry in their strategy. And it's a lie, because £20 million in education against billions in gaming, porn, fashion, advertising, and social media saying the opposite. So let me give you a little bit of an insight into what we're actually up against. Grand Theft Auto. You can solicit prostitutes, have sex with them, then kill them, and get your money back. That's not a glitch. That's gameplay. Boys spending hours every day learning women are targets. Then there's Pornhub. It's free, unlimited access, no age verification that actually works, and the top search category is teen. Violent content normalized, coercion presented as desire, pain presented as pleasure. This is the sex education. Not schools, not parents are giving, it's Pornhub. Teaching boys consent is weakness and violence is sex. Then social media, you've got Instagram and TikTok. Did you know that their algorithms reward sexualized content? And girls learn to perform for likes, to present their bodies for approval. And boys learn women are products to consume, to rate, to objectify. And then there's something else, advertising. Women in bikinis eating burgers seductively on every billboard, fashion, impossible body standards, and teen sections sexualizing girls' clothing. Then there's music, women as props in videos across every gene. The message is everywhere. Women's bodies sell everything. Cars, beer, perfume, food, clothes. And if women's bodies sell everything, then women are products. Just to reiterate, with the gaming, women are targets. Porn, violence is sex. Social media, women are products. And culture, women's bodies sell everything. All of it, every day, everywhere you look. Billions in profit. And then we wonder why a 13-year-old murders a girl who rejected him. So when I ponder on where could prevention have come in for my father's son, what was he influenced by? What did he consume? Porn? What was his access to manosphere content? I don't know. What I do know is that he made a choice. Whatever culture taught him, whatever he consumed, he chose to harm me. But without understanding what causes perpetrators, how do we prevent harm? That's the prevention question. It's uncomfortable but necessary. Because if we only prosecute after harm, we're always too late. You can't educate your way out of cultural saturation, not when the culture is the economy, and the government knows this. But protecting profit is more important than protecting women and girls. That's the lie. And then with the UK's Violence Against Women and Girl Strategy 2025, it includes promises like better training for police, specialist rape investigation teams, tougher sentences. The message: if we just train the system better, it will work. Fair, but the system is not AI. And what they're hiding is you can't train morality into perpetrators. 1,600 police officers under review for sexual offences and domestic abuse. And female officers have reported sexual harassment and assault by their male colleagues in police stations and at work events. And officers have been known to form sexual relationships with victims of crime. Well, these are the people we're told to report to. And this is the thing, you can train them on trauma-informed interviewing. You can give them better investigative tools, but you can't train empathy into someone who chooses to abuse their power. The problem isn't training. The problem is who is allowed to work in these institutions. Many years later, I went to the police, and I'm proud, proud that I reported. But I did it alone, without support, without information about what to expect. It was an out-of-body experience, being told I couldn't speak to anybody about it. It was a very isolating experience. And at the end of the journey of reporting my father's son, he was found not guilty. The system said, not enough evidence. The system also used a picture of myself smiling. I must have been about four or five, probably about 4, smiling on the stairs, sitting next to him. And they held that picture up in court and said, does this child look like she's experiencing sexual abuse? So what the system heard from that picture was that it didn't happen, which I heard as I wasn't believed. But that's the shame the system sows. The government knows training doesn't prevent perpetrators from abusing power, but admitting it would mean asking, why don't we recruit police the way we recruit MI5 and MI6? Military special forces and intelligence agencies use psychological assessments, violence risk evaluations, ethical reasoning tests, extended vetting that asks, how will this person behave when no one is watching? Versus police recruitment, which uses skills tests, background checks, interviews about handling conflict, none of which assesses moral disengagement, how someone justifies harm, whether they externalize blame, how they react to humiliation or loss of control. The tools exist, We just don't use them for the people who have the power over vulnerable women and girls. And that's not oversight, that's a choice. The UK can pass all the laws it wants, but if the police involved in those laws are rapists themselves, then nothing changes. If you have lived experience of violence, sexual violence, these three lies, they are possibly why the system may have failed you or is failing you. When politicians blame immigrants, when most perpetrators are British men, when people say it's just entertainment or boys will be boys, your harm was inevitable in an economy built on objectification. And when police don't or didn't take you seriously, or they didn't believe what you shared, you can't train morality into 1,600 officers under review for sexual violence. And I want you to understand that this isn't about you, it's about who the system protects. Understanding this doesn't change what happened, but maybe it will stop you from blaming and judging yourself. And if you've already reported and it didn't go how you'd hoped, if he was found not guilty, if you were told not enough evidence, that's not the truth about what happened to you. That's the system protecting itself. Not guilty doesn't mean innocent. And not enough evidence doesn't mean it didn't happen, because you know your truth. So the UK government promises to halve violence against women and girls in 10 years. Let me give you some context, or more context. Rape offences equaled 16,000 per year up until 2012. Then 70,000 per year in 2024, 4 times higher. So the question isn't, do we have laws? The question is, why aren't the laws working? Because legislation without honesty is theatre. Dismantling industries profiting from harm is work, and it costs money. And I think what would work would be to dismantle industries profiting from harm, not just educate boys while billion-pound industries contradict every lesson. Heavy fines, regulation, economic consequences. Regulate advertising that objectifies women. Age-verify porn access and actually enforce it. Hold gaming companies accountable for content. And make social media platforms liable for harm their algorithms cause. Root out perpetrators in institutions, not train them, remove them. 1,600 officers under review. It blows my mind that they're not fired or suspended. We need independent oversight and public accountability. And I think there should be a desire to upgrade the recruitment process. Like, we are really serious about who we want to work within the police force. We already know how to screen for violence risk, use psychological assessments, violence risk evaluations, ethical reasoning tests, the way MI5 and MI6 do. Screen for moral disengagement before giving someone a badge. Until we do, I wonder if the 1,600 officers under review will become 3,200 in just a few years, because we're not screening for the thing that predicts abuse. And teach boys from the beginning, women are human, not objects, not products, not rewards, human. But this requires honesty, admitting the economy profits from harm. British men of all ethnicities are the majority of perpetrators. Police harbour perpetrators. Culture creates violence. But the UK government won't do that because admitting it would require changing it, and changing it would cost money. So they promise strategies and hope we don't notice when nothing changes. So what now? Stop believing the lies. Stop buying from industries or that objectify women, or at least try to look into the brands that you love and can't live without. Demand police recruitment reform, and share this episode with someone who thinks the manosphere is just internet weirdos. Stop waiting for honesty from a government protecting profit. Be the honesty. That's how we create change. The system perpetrates shame. It sows the seed of doubt, which then grows quickly into shame. And that's what happened to me. Doubt, shame, isolation, worthlessness. That's how unfinished stories became cages for me. Because here's what I recognize now. The brain hates gaps. If something painful happens and there's missing information, the mind fills it in, not to deceive, but to survive. You feel unsafe, unwanted, ashamed, powerless. The brain asks why, and instead of saying, I don't know, it creates a scenario, a reason. It must be because of me. That feeling is real. The story explaining it may not be, but that's how unfinished stories become cages. And I created stories too, many stories, about why I didn't demand more, why I didn't report earlier, why I didn't show up differently in court, and about what would have happened if I had demanded more. And some of those stories protected me, and some of them really limited me. And now when my brain drifts off into creating a story, I ask myself, what lie am I believing? And that question, what lie am I believing? That's where freedom starts. And what I also know is the capacity I had at the time was limited, not because I was weak, but because I was young, and because I didn't have the right information to connect with the right support. And even if I had the right support, I would have still had to walk the road to heal. And I have no way of knowing if my experience thereafter would be any different from what I experienced up till now, because I haven't lived it. And yet I am proud I took the step to fight for me, because there is a song, a Whitney Houston song, I Didn't Know My Own Strength, and it says everything I couldn't say for years. I thought I'd never make it through. I had no hope to hold on to. I thought I would break. I didn't know my own strength. And I crashed down and I tumbled, but I did not crumble. I got through the pain. I didn't know my own strength. Survived my darkest hour. My faith kept me alive. I picked myself back up, held my head up high. I was not built to break. I didn't know my own strength. And that's what this episode is about. Not just policy, not just industries. It's about recognizing your own strength. Even when the system says you weren't strong enough, even when he was found not guilty, even when you carry guilt for not demanding more, you did what you could with the capacity you had. And the stories you created to survive, they kept you alive. But healing is about questioning those stories. What am I actually believing? Is it true? That's the work. That's where freedom starts and thriving thrives. Learn the facts. Armor yourself. When you report, know the stats. When they dismiss you, if they dismiss you, know the system. Facts protect you in institutions designed to exploit emotion. Question unfinished stories. Find your freedom. Choose brands that don't profit from harm. Take your power back through your choices, one brand at a time. And heal. Heal at your own pace. You don't have to do the prevention work. You don't have to ask why he, they, she did it. Your healing is enough. I believe in you, even if your truth has gaps, even if your story changed over time, and even if you created a narrative or narratives to survive. That doesn't make you a liar. That makes you human. I didn't know my own strength. And remember, you were not built to break. You were built to thrive. Thank you for listening to this episode of Like Me podcast. If anything I've shared has made you stop, think, or see yourself just a little bit clearer, fantastic. I love this for you. I love this for me. And honestly, I love this for us. And if this episode shifted something in you, give yourself a moment to sit with it. And if anything felt a little bit too heavy, speak to someone you trust. What I've learnt is that we don't heal in isolation, and you don't have to carry any of this alone. This space isn't about staying in survival mode. It's about lifting ourselves out of the dimension that has tried to keep us trapped and choosing a version of ourselves that's still becoming. If this resonates with you, share with someone who might need a reminder or a friend. And make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. I'm JK. Stay open, stay self-curious, and remember, it's our time to thrive.